center has pulled up cab aggregators like Ola, Uber and other companies for alleged unfair trade practices and has warned them of strict action in case they fail to improve their systems. The Consumer Affairs Ministry met the representatives of Ola, Uber, Meru, Rapido and Jugnu and rebuked them for their functioning and, according to sources, asked them to explain details on operations, fair pricing algorithm and drivers' payment structure. The government warned the cab aggregators of action amid rising consumer complaints. This after consumer complaints of alleged unfair trade practices, including ride cancellations and differential pricing. All right, for more on this, I'm joined by Neha on the broadcast. Neha, thank you for joining us. Well, this is a recurring issue. A lot of people often complain that their rides are getting cancelled at the last moment, or the cab aggregators are taking longer than usual, or the biggest issue is the differential pricing. They book their cabs at a certain price, and when they reach their destination, the fare changes completely. What is the latest that you can share with us? If you've been speaking to people, what are their views on this? Neha, if you could hear me, my question to you was that this is a big story that impacts a lot of people. A very important piece of news that the government has warned cab aggregators like Ola and Uber and other companies as far as cab cancellations or differential pricing is concerned. What have you picked up? Because you've been speaking to people. What is their sense? Because a lot of people suffer this on a daily basis when their cabs are cancelled at the last moment, or due to differential pricing, because when they book a cab, the fare is something else, and when they reach their destination, there is an exponential rise in the fares. All right, I apologize to my viewers for these technical glitches on the broadcast. I'm joined by Uday Warunjikar, who's a consumer rights lawyer on the broadcast. Mr. Uday, thank you for making time and speaking to Mirror now. Well, it's an issue, it's a recurring issue that affects everyone on a daily basis when cabs are cancelled at the last moment, or they are charged exorbitantly despite what they book, at the start of the journey, and the fare changes when their destination is there. For the benefit of our viewers, could you help us understand what rights do the consumers have when a situation like this arises, given today the government has warned these cab aggregators?
Problem was with reference to these online platforms which were providing these services. What was happening earlier, those platforms were having no control so far as the Indian legal framework is concerned. The new Consumer Protection Act has brought these digital services or online services specifically within the purview of the consumer disputes. The consumer is having a right. That right is to get protected against the exploitation. These were the persons who were exploiting the consumers. And as a result of that, there was a need for a positive, proactive step. And I feel that now the government is coming forward, so therefore it should be welcome. Most of the consumers who were riding these cabs, they were getting attracted because of the convenience which was available, because of the availability of the services on the fingertips. But so far as the cancellation of the rides, as well as the actual fare escalation which was happening, these are the two important aspects which have created some kind of a panic wave amongst the consumers. The consumers are having a right to get protected against these exploitations, and therefore large number of complaints were made. Unfortunately, there were no mechanism like a redressal agency. Take a case that some cab driver refuses to take this particular passenger, then what is the remedy? Remedy is you can write, you can send an email, you can say that instead of 5-star, I'll give a less ranking. but these options were not having enough teeth, as well as those were not useful so far as the problems which are faced by the common consumer. There was no mechanism so far as redressal of the grievances is concerned. And therefore, there was a long-standing demand that these operators who are aggregators should be brought under the purview of the Consumer Protection Act. I think this is one of the welcoming steps taken by the government to redress the long-standing grievances. Ultimately, now, some of the aggregators may come forward, some may not. But the time has come to show that the law is equal for all of them. Not only those two Kali Pili taxi, those are driven by the other common driver or other common car owner, but these taxis which are available on a platform, maybe Uber, maybe Ola, maybe Meru, or by whatever name, they are also required to be brought within the purview of the Act. And I think this is a positive step we should welcome.
Thank you so much, Mr. Uday, for speaking to Mirror Now and helping us understand what this really means. And going forward, we really hope that the consumers are not suffering because of these companies' policies. And on that note, it's time for a short break. Stay tuned. We'll be back. Welcome back. The Supreme Court today pulled up the centre as the hearing on contentious sedition law resumed. Calling it quote-unquote Kala Kanoon, the top court has asked the centre to submit its stand on whether all sedition cases filed across the country could be kept on hold till the government finishes its re-examination. The apex court has given 24 hours to the centre to issue instructions to all states and UTs to keep the sedition cases on hold. This comes after the centre softened its stance on sedition and decided to re-examine and reconsider it. All right, Meenakshi, who's been tracking these cases very, very closely in the top court, joins us on the broadcast. Meenakshi, thank you for joining us. Please take us through what really happened in the Supreme Court, because the top court has put the centre on notice because they have a deadline. They have to reply till tomorrow whether these sedition laws and the cases can be put on hold until the centre is re-examining it.
Well, yes, absolutely, Archana. And also very quickly, some perspective for our viewers. What has transpired is hugely interesting. Why is it interesting? Simply because anybody who thought that the Supreme Court would defer the matter, given the fact that the government has given an undertaking that it will, or rather made a request for the Supreme Court to defer the hearing, saying that it is going to reconsider the sedition law, and therefore there would be no immediacy to Supreme Court's intervention. Clearly, that has proven to be a misnomer, because the Supreme Court of India had a twist up its sleeve. What was the twist? The twist, like you rightly mentioned, was the fact that in 24 hours, the Supreme Court wants to get a response from the government whether, while the process of deliberation and reevaluation of 124A IPC is underway, in the interim, whether the Government of India will issue a directive to all the states of the Indian Union to refrain from slapping 124A IPC from time to time, as we have seen play out in various states of India. And that is the twist, because this is a matter which is not going to easily go into cold storage, as some were expecting that, given the assurance from the government, now the Supreme Court would perhaps back off from adjudicating on this matter judicially at all, given the fact that government is saying clearly that it will re-evaluate the sedition law. But there is no time frame to how long the deliberation or the re-evaluation process will take. So in the interim of that re-evaluation and relook of 124A, what is going to happen to the fate of 124A? And that is where today the developments in Supreme Court really become very, very interesting and hugely interesting, because clearly the Supreme Court is wanting more from the government, not just an undertaking or an assurance that the government will re-evaluate and relook 124A provision of the IPC. Also, the Prime Minister himself being involved and keen to do away with colonial era laws that no longer serve utility or purpose. Even that submission hasn't been sufficient for the Supreme Court to completely back off. The Supreme Court wants for the government to come back in 24 hours, which is tomorrow, with specific responses. What will be the fate of all those matters across India where 124A IPC has been invoked? And secondly, whether the government will issue directive to all the states of the Indian Union to back away and not invoke this penal provision in the interim while the process of re-evaluation of 124A is concerned. So that is the significance of what has transpired. If anybody thought that this matter would just go away and be in cold storage, clearly that is not happening.
Absolutely. Meenakshi, please stay on with us. I want to speak to you about another important story. But before that, let's just listen into what Prashant Bhushan had to say on the top court's observation.
I think it's an important development because the court has said that, all right, the government or the parliament can reconsider the law of sedition, but in the meantime, what do you propose to do about both pending cases and future cases of sedition?
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people who have been charged with sedition, wrongly charged with sedition, and who are languishing in jails. So, on that, the government has said that it will get back. Solicitor General said he would get back by tomorrow. So they have given them time till tomorrow to consider what they propose to do about these cases, because the misuse is continuing.
Yeah.
It's continuing almost on a daily basis.
In a significant step towards criminalizing marital rape, Supreme Court today refused to stay the trial against a husband for allegedly raping his wife. The husband had appealed against the Karnataka 8C order, which had refused to quash the charges of rape framed against him by his wife. The top court today issued a notice in a special leave petition filed by a husband challenging a judgment of the Kerala High Court. Meenakshi is still with us on the broadcast. Meenakshi, this is the important story that I was referring to. Very important observations coming in as far as the top court is concerned. Could you help our viewers with the background and what really happened in the apex court today?
Well, yes, absolutely, Archana. You see, this is a debate that we have seen play out in the Delhi High Court as well. This is a debate where a position of the government of India is also known, which is this, that the government does not favor at this juncture criminalizing marital rape, because marriage per se is an institution which is a sacrosanct union of two souls. That is how the Hindu Marriage Act defines it. But like you rightly mentioned, what has transpired in the Supreme Court is hugely significant, because for the first time we are seeing a significant step towards perhaps criminalizing marital rape, with the Supreme Court refusing to stay the trial against a husband for allegedly raping his wife. And not just that, the Supreme Court has gone ahead and issued notice, which means formally admitting the plea and posting it for further hearing in July. Now, this is a husband who had appealed against the earlier order of the Karnataka High Court, which had refused to quash charges of rape framed against him for allegedly raping his wife repeatedly and keeping her purportedly as a sex slave. So that is the significance, with the Supreme Court refusing to step in or grant any form of interim relief to this man, is the first step towards Supreme Court perhaps going forward in the foreseeable future, giving its nod to criminalization of marital rape. Of course, it's all done, Archana, sometimes on a case-to-case basis, but this case is grave. Like we just pointed out to our viewers, there are severe allegations of sexual misdemeanor, misconduct within the confines of a marriage, and therefore the Karnataka High Court had refused to quash charges against this particular man. And today the Supreme Court, in a significant step, is indicating perhaps for the first time towards criminalizing a marital rape. So therefore this assumes a lot of import, because remember, as far as statute law is concerned in India, marital rape thus far is not considered rape. So we have seen the Supreme Court step up and really lay down the law of this land in so many other landmark cases, be that the privacy judgment, be that decriminalizing Section 377 and giving legal sanctity to same-sex adult couples in India. So therefore, the Supreme Court is the fountainhead which really sets in motion a lot of new things and reform as far as judicial interpretation of laws is concerned. And therefore, today what has happened assumes a lot of import because it's a significant step towards the Supreme Court perhaps, giving a nod towards criminalizing marital rape in the foreseeable future.
All right. Thank you, Meenakshi, for those updates.